Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the May 9th work session for Rutherford County Schools. First on the agenda tonight is our Pledge of Allegiance by Ms. Dawn Williams. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. We're going to have a moment of silence, please. Thank you so much. Welcome back, everybody, for May. First, on the consent agenda, anybody have any questions or would like to move anything to the regular agenda? Comments or questions? Yes, please.
So one thing you will start to see is on non-faculty coaches, you should see 23, 24, and as we go through the next couple weeks, you are going to notice dozens upon dozens of new coaches who are probably veteran coaches, but we get them approved every single year. So just wanted to call that to your attention.
Dr. Sullivan, when we have non-faculty volunteer coaches, what is the process when they?
Yeah, so pretty lengthy. So they go through a new hire packet, they go through background checks, the schools actually pay for the background checks through us. Then we have an entire, compliance is the best way I know how to say it, that whether or not they are fine arts, they go through Dr. Halford. If they're athletics, they go through Chris Harris, our athletic director, and then they submit that once they have their packet complete.
Dr. Sullivan, in item C, routine bids, bathroom fixture replacements and portable relocations has been pulled. We're going to rebid those.
Okay.
We're missing. So this, we're missing this.
I think there's some pages missing, which means I
Pages
probably stole your pages because I have them all.
Okay, yeah, so
Which is my
we don't
fault.
have a complete agenda. Can we get a complete agenda? I don't have a complete agenda. I do not have a complete agenda.
Yep, no problem.
I would like a complete agenda.
Yeah.
Thank you. I see.
And that's probably me because I took everybody's agenda as I was going through and adding things to them today.
That's fine. I was just thought it was interesting that
Yep.
So
I
let's,
did not have a complete
so let's go
agenda.
ahead and do number 10. We'll start at number 10 and then back up.
Sounds
With
great.
everybody.
But
Yep. Sounds great. So number 10, we have suspension of bus driver appeal. So Allison Brown, a bus contractor, has appealed the decision to suspend one of her drivers. Micaiah Brown is authorized bus driver for Rutherford County Schools for a period of 1 year. On January 23rd and 24th, 2023, the school system received complaints regarding inappropriate behavior by Ms. Brown towards a parent while operating a bus running a route from the RCS school system. The incident was caught on video. The Department of Transportation investigated the complaint, determined that Ms. Brown had engaged in unprofessional conduct that endangered the safety or well-being of students that failed to have appropriate rapport with students and parents. Under the bus contract, a bus contractor has the right to appeal the suspension of the driver to the Board of Education if the matter is not resolved to the satisfaction of the bus contractor after a meeting with the Director of Transportation Department and the Director of Schools designee. So the Director of Transportation Department and Trey Lee, the designee of the Director of Schools, met with Ms. Brown. The decision to suspend Ms. Brown was not changed, and now she has the ability to uphold the suspension to the board. Mr. Reed, do you want to add anything about how that will work? Since I've served as the designee, I will step out of this seat and let Mr. Reed kind of take over for that portion of it.
So under the bus contract, a bus contractor has a right to appeal the suspension of one of their bus drivers, which is what the bus contractor has chosen to do in this case. So when that comes before the board, we'll have a hearing, a 30-minute hearing, no longer than that. She'll have the right to present her side of the story and kind of give any explanation she wants to give as to why she thinks her bus driver should not be suspended. Mr. Trey Lee, on behalf of the school system, present, or maybe the transportation director, the reasons that they thought that this bus driver should be suspended. So ultimately, the board will have to determine what the board wants to do with respect to the matter. The options that the board will have will be affirm the decision to suspend the bus driver, and that was a suspension through January 26, 2023, or reverse the decision to suspend the bus driver, or impose some lesser or greater penalty as the board determines to be appropriate. So you have a situation, it will be, you have the bus contractor present her side of the story, you have the school system present its side of the story, there'll be opportunity for questions from you as board members, and then you have to make a decision what you want to do with it. That's going to be during the board meeting. Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, Mr. Lee's available for questions if, between now and then, if you don't want to ask any tonight. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Number 11.
All right, number 11, Transportation, tab 2. So Transportation Department will be providing bus services to support the summer camp program completely funded by the Tennessee All-Corps funds. Tennessee All-Corps funds will be provide contractors $450 a day for the duration of the 16 scheduled summer camp sessions. And these are kindergarten through 8th, not summer school for high school.
What's the fiscal note on that?
I can tell you it was all funded by the reallocation that we got back of our funds that our state delegation helped recover.
Nice, okay.
Just a second to pull up summer funding. So transportation is, they've allocated $334,516 for that.
Any comments or questions? Number 12.
Totally wrong. That was how much we lost previously. Let me go back to what we really have. We really have $441,970. So we do still have a reduction, but nowhere near as much as we did originally.
4970.
Because that does depend on state actual funding that hits E-Plan that we've looked at, that number could change again as we actually see it, but we budget to be conservative and still have it left.
Number 12.
Tammy, number 12 continues on page 8, and we don't have page 8.
Yeah, because that's missing. Page 8 is missing.
Okay.
So it's page 10. Because it goes to 9, 11, and we're missing page 12 too.
Ms.
I think
Williams,
you
you
could
could-
complete.
he's doing a full packet for
Yeah.
I think you could move to 16,
Okay,
Sounds great.
let's move to,
because we have all of that info.
Yep, number 16, instruction tab 7. So contract,
What's that on? 13?
very last one, yep.
Oh, thank you. That's okay. Thank you very much.
I've got it because I took them all originally. It's my fault.
shuffle the agenda.
I took them all into the conference room as I was working through them all, yes.
That's okay, we got it all squared away now, so.
Okay, so we're on
So
16.
we're going to go back?
Yep, let's go back.
Let's go back
All the way
to
to the beginning,
five,
number
right?
6. Does that sound good?
Number 6.
Or 5?
Yeah, because we're now in 8. No, 6.
Thank you, Grover. Yep, so number 6. So, sorry guys, that was my fault. I took all the agendas earlier today and put them into the conference room while I was trying to staple everything, so my fault. Thank you, Kroger. We want to say a special thank you to Kroger for donating 200 cakes in honor of Teacher Appreciation Week. We thank you for your continued support of our teachers, schools, and being a community partner, and I want to take a second to thank the board because you guys took a day out of your schedules to go and present cakes to every one of our schools. And so thank you, I believe, Jeff. I think you were involved in helping make sure that took place as well. And that was a great show of support for our teachers and schools.
Yeah, we need to thank the Kroger and veterans,
Perfect.
because they're the Jeffrey's brother, Chris Reed. I got his name right today. Helped us with us. And so thank you very much for going that extra mile to do that. So thank you.
I'm just curious, what do 200 cakes look like? Like, is it on a pallet or?
Thanks. Boxes of 4, and so each person knew how many boxes they were supposed to get. Just loaded them in the boxes of 4 and took off.
It's a piece of cake. That's right, Dr. Chastain.
Yeah.
Ms. Bratton?
Yeah.
Thank you for your work on that, Ms. Bratton. That was your dream and your
Yes.
plan,
I'm
and you
telling you.
executed it flawlessly.
We wanted cakes. We've been wanting cakes since January.
Yes.
But we couldn't have done it if everybody hadn't been there and on time and delivering, and it was great, y'all. It just turned out great, so.
That's great.
Thank you.
That's a thank you note we need to do.
And James, thank you for getting those pictures on the Facebook so quickly. They look so.
It was the most engaging post that we've had in a week.
Wow.
I'm looking at the insights right now, almost 16,000 engagements. So,
Wow, that's great.
Yep.
Wow.
Any complaints that we didn't give cake to the community? No? Good.
It did have confetti around the edges, so.
That's very appreciative.
That's awesome.
No visitors tonight, so we're going to go to number 8.
Number 8, Dr. Chastain, do you know, is Jared going to be here on Thursday, or are we just presenting updates?
This is strictly for information. I think he is out of town, and he
Okay.
sends his regrets, but that he is available for any additional questions. And I do have some limited information.
You want to go for it? If
that?
you're okay with that?
Oh, sure.
An update on our enrollment.
All right, so this was something he sent. And so this is based on his current numbers. So what is reflected here on the agenda is that they're proposing to increase the enrollment from what they had originally guessed would be their enrollment for that first year. We have checked with the state, and there's no reason to have to amend anything, so this is well within your rights as a board to just approve this. No new contract is needed. And so to support their desire to go to 400 students in year 1, they, based on their internal surveys, say they have 290 interested families, with more than half of them having multiple children in the district, 477 interested families, with more than half having multiple children in the district via a social media lead, and combined to have over 900 identified that are interested in K-5 enrollment. Again, I don't have any other information beyond that in terms of if you have questions about where those numbers may come from, just reach out to Jared. And they do have a parent information meeting scheduled for May 26th at 9 a.m.
May 26th?
Yes.
So that already, oh no, we're in May, never mind.
Do you know where that's
Sorry.
going to be?
I do not have a location, but I'm happy
Okay,
to reach out.
I'll look for it. I didn't know if you.
Do we have can you find out for us their status of their building project?
Yes, and I, in an effort to not misspeak, I will get further details, but I do know that they're moving forward with a specific plot of land
Okay.
and have plans in place. So they have a location, so I think that's probably why they're generating, some specific interest in that area based on where they're planning on building. But yes, absolutely.
Where is this area again?
It's in Smyrna.
Oh, in Smyrna.
I think it's off Enon
Non-Springs,
Springs, yeah.
Oh, Eon Springs, okay.
And that's not sharing anything confidential. They have their own board, and so their board has approved that to be public, so.
I think they've already purchased the property.
Yes.
I knew they were, yeah.
It's right by, it's just around the corner from Smyrna West. I had heard they had a wait list of 800. Was that?
I guess technically they do because they have nobody enrolled.
Okay. Number 9, if there are no further questions.
So number 9, I will do on Thursday.
Okay. Okay, we did number 10.
We did 10.
Anybody have any questions about that? Any follow-up questions? We did number 11.
Yep.
And so number 12.
All right, number 12, Human Resources, tab 3. So this is kind of the third version of this position. So a new proposed title and job description under the direct supervision of the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources and and Support Services, requesting a title change to the job description of Recruitment Manager, which was approved in March of this year. The new job title will be Coordinator of New Teacher Programs and Recruitment. So this does a couple things. One, it allows us to have somebody directly over teacher recruitment, also allows us to not create a new position and be able to move that whole educator preparatory program that we call Rutherford Teach Now underneath one kind of department, because right now it sits between human resources and instruction.
So it's just a title change?
It'll be a title change and a certification change, because right now it can be classified or certified. Being over teacher licensure needs to be a certified person, and that's updated in the job description.
And one thing Dr. Anthony and I have worked out in this job description is it's not just our Teach Now, it's also all of our Grow Your Own programs. So all the apprentice models, and we're now working with 2, possibly up to 3 different institutions next year for Grow Your Own different avenues. So it's getting unwieldy. So
So the scope of work is getting bigger?
yes, very much, yes.
We have, I would say with our, and I'm confident that you can correct me if I'm wrong, through our Grow Your Own partnerships, our own educator preparatory program, we have more people enrolled than what I sent you with the local university graduating. So, easily, yeah, okay. Yeah, and I mean, we're well above what they have. Yeah.
Good.
Wonderful. Number 13.
Our number 13, we have 4 of these. Several of these are pretty lengthy. So number 1, the board has been requested to admit a transfer student from another school system under discipline. The student was remanded for possession of THC. According to policy 6.318, the board may deny admissions of any student except those in state custody when a student transfers from another school system while under suspension or expulsion. Director of Schools' recommendation for the first one is to place an alternative school. And I know Ms. Ridley would be happy to answer any questions you have between now and then.
Just give us an opportunity.
Yep.
Number 2.
Number 2, board's been requested to admit a transfer student from another school system under discipline. The student was referred to the Alternative Learning Center for Fighting. According to policy 6.318, the board may deny admission of any student except those in state custody when a student transfers from another school system while under suspension or expulsion. Director of Schools' recommendation in this one is to admit and place an alternative school.
If we vote to admit, are they staying here the rest of the school year and then they'll be back next year? Is that?
They would have to meet their same number of days. Yeah.
Okay,
So they
so
would enter our program. Yeah.
Number 3.
Number 3, boards are requested to admit a transfer student from another school system under discipline. A student was expelled, 0 tolerance for possession of a large amount of marijuana. According to policy 6.318, the board may deny admission of any student except those in state custody when a student transfers from another school system while under suspension or expulsion. Recommendation for this one is to deny admission.
Can we go back to number 2, please?
Yeah.
All right, I have a question. So it kind of popped up, came to mind whenever you made a comment about the alternative school. So we're May 9th, right? Today's May 9th. School ends in May 26th. So if his reprimand is so many days and we end the school on May 26th and he's transferred and his days are not completed, does he go back to?
They start back.
They
Yep.
still go back when the school year?
Correct. We have, I don't want to say lots, but we do have students under that.
Right, but I'm just saying that because this person is an out of county, so that's what I was asking.
Yep.
Okay,
Number 4.
And then number 4, board's been requested to admit a transfer student from another school system under discipline. Student was placed in alternative school for assault of another student. According to policy 6.318, the board may deny admission of any student except those in state custody when the student transfers from another school system while under suspension or expulsion. Director of Schools' recommendation is to deny admission in this situation.
Any comments or questions? And we have our packet. Are we allowed to take these home, or would you rather take them tonight?
It's up to the board member if you would like to take it home. I've also emailed them to you all, whatever's easier.
Thank you. Number 2.
Yes, so number 2, policy adoption, first readings of 2 readings. Before we get started on these, there's a couple that I wanted to call to your attention. Specifically in policy 5.119.
Number N.
So policy 5.119, employment of retirees. So one of our esteemed payroll staff members actually caught this. So in that policy, there are actually 3 different categories of retirees, one for 120-day contract, one for somebody serving and getting 85% of pay, and then the other one serving and getting 70% of their pay plus retirement. The way that we did this in policy was only giving sick days to one of those 3 groups. So my proposal would be for Monica to, at least by Thursday, I guess, can you add language that it covers all 3?
Yes, and it'll be the same language, which right now the policy committee recommended that the language be the retired teacher is eligible to accrue sick days as a regular certified employee, but not eligible to receive compensation for accrued days not used. So that would just probably go to the beginning of that policy so that it applies to all 3 different types of retirees. The way that we have it right now, it appears it's only applying to that second one, that 1 year.
$120, someone who retires and still gets 85% of their pay because they're not on TCRS or not taking that benefit, and then the new one the state approved last year that they could come back, get TCRS 70% and their salary. Yes. Yes.
You're thinking about coming back? You're really interested in this accrued sick day.
Well, I'll change that. I'll change that language and update the agenda and then send it out to the board members.
The other portion that's somewhat connected to that, so as director of schools can bring policies forth for the board to review as well. She also caught, our payroll clerk caught policy 5.302, says, and it's our existing sick leave, and it's not on here, so I'll bring that for the next board meeting that we have. But we have one line that says retired personnel shall not earn sick leave. So it'll be my recommendation to strike that, and we'll bring that at the May 25th meeting. So payroll people are great sticklers for details. They caught both. Agree completely. Yeah. All right, so now back to all of them. So you'll see these policy changes. This is the first reading. Policies will be brought to the next scheduled board meeting for a second and final reading. Policy 1.1021, student member of the board, proposal to sunset. Policy 1.405, rules of order, adds language to clarify recognition addressing the chair under Robert's Rules of Order. Policy 1.501, visitors to the schools, adds language regarding speakers invited to participate in school activities. D, policy 1.800, school calendar, adds language to designate 2 days each school year for security training. E, policy 2.805, purchasing, clarifies amount for routine purchases. F, policy 4.100, instructional goals, no changes to the existing policy. Policy 4.2001, co-curricular activities, title of the policy changed to co-curricular fine arts activities. H, policy 4.205, enrollment in advanced courses, adds language for substitution of college-level equivalent courses for Algebra 2 or Integrated Math 3 to align with federal graduation requirements. I, policy 4.212, virtual education program, removes language regarding quarantining. J, policy 4.402, reconsideration of textbooks and instructional materials, no changes to existing policy. K, policy 4.403, library materials, adds language to clarify to who can bring a complaint to align with state law. L, policy 4.801, controversial materials, title of the policy would change to request for alternate equal assignment or materials, and adds that the principal's decision can be appealed to the director of schools and then to the board if necessary. M, policy 5.117, teacher tenure, changes probationary period to 2 years and grants tenure for hard-to-fill positions with recommendation of the director of schools to the board. We already talked about N. O, policy 5.3051, emergency sick leave, proposal to sunset. P, policy 6.204, attendance of non-resident students, no changes to existing policy. Q, policy 6.3001, pandemic epidemic code of conduct supplement, proposal to sunset. And then new policy 6.313, spectators, new policy to address safety and security at school events.
And that was the clear bags.
Clear bags, yes.
And once they leave, they cannot return.
Correct.
I think that's a good one. Any questions? Any comments or questions? Number 14.
All right, number 14, financial matters, tab 5. So if you guys will, if we will move to the budget handout. And so there's a couple things here. We've been working on our budget since December is when Ms. Sharp and I think first set the budget calendar. So it has been almost a 6-month process of doing this. I appreciate everyone's hard work because we have talked about budget nonstop since December pretty much. On the back of that first page, you will see our overall 3 main funds. And so you'll see Fund 141, 143, and 177. You'll see revenues and then expenditures for each one. The first one that you'll see is our large one, Fund 141, general fund revenue, $518,207,866, and then expenditures is the exact same number. So that is a balanced budget, which, yes, TISA helped present a balanced budget, but it also allowed us to hit all of our goals that we have as a board as far as salary, staffing, behavior, and adding additional funds to address some of our building maintenance. And so very excited about that, thankful for everybody's work to kind of make that portion happen. I do want to bring up one point that Brian and I submit this information to County General, and County General then uploads into their format because it is a centralized accounting. We don't have access to change these numbers. We found out that we actually have about 200,000 extra in revenue. It's about 200,000, wasn't it? So 213,000 extra revenue, and so they are updating those forms for us. So that is good news because it's extra revenue, and that'll be updated by the time that we meet on Thursday. We just don't have those back. So that's 141. We'll go into more detail as needed on the next one. 143 is centralized cafeteria. You'll see the estimated revenue is $29.715 million, and then the expenditures, are $34.35 million. So that is one that is in deficit of $4.6 million.
So you've got central cafeteria fund revenues and central cafeteria fund revenue. That should be
Second
central
one should be
cafeteria fund
expenditures.
expenditures.
Yep. The second one, the larger one, should be expenditures.
Okay, thank you.
And you will see that we are budgeting in a deficit of $4.6 million for this year. Currently, our fund balance in that account is, Brian, do you have an idea of what it is? A little bit over 13 million. So a little bit over 13 million. By law, they are supposed to have 3 to 4 months of operating cost. They are well over that. They actually have a 50%, almost 50% fund balance. And so our school nutrition director has requested to purchase equipment for some of his older equipment. And we'll go through and show you where that number is in just a little while. And then the last one is our 177, Education and Capital Projects. So this is the one that we have talked quite a bit about that used to be called the Bull and Nickel. Then we added 7 cents to that last year. We actually, by just requesting the same dollar amount, we allowed the county to move just a little bit of some funds off of that as well to help cover some of the additions. And so that's the same dollar amount that we requested, not the same amount for pennies. And I should have gone back and said that about 141. We had our budget meeting on Thursday, just on some other overview, but they presented a overview to county. And so they were able to move about 10 cents of property tax revenue for the school system and move that over to debt to help pay for some of our additions. And so that was a huge move by us only asking for maintenance of effort. We actually added over 900 students this May to May, so it's a little bit less than we have, but still over 900. We had that report today. And so we aren't asking the county to pick up any funding for any of those additional 900 students. So we were able to take care of that with TISA. So any questions on just the overall overview before we move into a little bit more specific?
Congratulations on being the first one to balance the budget ever.
Thank you.
Yeah, you and Mr. Runyon and staff, thank you so much for all the hard work. Whatever we'll do when the budget process is over.
I can get back to making sure we're teaching and learning in the district, and I'm really excited for that. Really excited. All right, so if you will go on, actually, if you'll let me connect real quick, because it's a little bit easier to see revenue on this form than it is on the other one. And I'll go over both just so you can see where the number's coming from. So we are now looking at pages 1 through 5. So these first 5 pages and all these numbers kind of match to the same spot. but it's a little bit easier to see it in this format, maybe. Let me disconnect and try it again. Everybody just waits with bated breath. It's going to be bad if I can't get in because I'm verifying security. All right, there we go. Okay, so this is the same numbers, but it helps. Yellow, those are our maintenance of effort numbers. Is that correct, Brian? Yellow highlights maintenance of effort. So this is Brian and Michael Smith at the county. Our county finance director have worked amazing together. I can't thank Michael enough for his work. So in working to meet maintenance of effort, we've talked quite a bit about. So our maintenance of effort is right over 190 billion, which is the legal minimum that the local can give to us for this year. That is all that we are asking for. And so you will see right off the bat where they were able to remove just over $9 million from current property tax and be able to move that towards our debt service from property tax. There's a couple other areas that were lowered as well to meet that. You'll see the big change is they increase local option sales tax because that usually comes in above what they present. And so these were kind of the numbers that we worked on to meet that maintenance of effort request.
Are you going to send that to us?
Yeah, I can send this.
Thank you.
The other parts that I know that are different, so this is what we just talked about. This is the number that's going to go up 213,000 that will be reflected in the revenue. A couple other parts I know for next year that we will hit on. This is mixed drink tax. Now, it seems weird to talk about at a school board meeting, but that is a revenue line for us. Right now, we share that with the city K-12, and so Dr. Duke and I will have to have quite a bit of conversation around the city doesn't have 7 through 12, and so they're getting revenue for students they don't have. So we're going to have conversations about
So
it.
it's split 50-50?
It's not split the way that our student enrollment is right now. And
Okay.
so we should get increased revenue there. Couple other areas that increase revenue, so investment income because of the way that interest rates are right now. So that was an increase. This is one that may go up. So Brian and I talked about this a little while ago. So the 814 South Church Street, we are working with kind of the company to look at the rentals and the leases that they have. And so if we purchase the building, we may have to add additional funds into this line because until we operate it, we very well could be receiving lease payments. So that would be an additional revenue there.
On the expenditure.
No, on revenue because we wouldn't, because we would be, if we bought the building before the school was able to get in there because tenants still had a lease, then we
Oh,
would,
we're going to be collecting money. Got it. Okay.
which is a weird thing for a school system to be
Sure.
in. But
Temporary.
I know Brian and I thought maybe we could balance all kinds of budgets if we can get into this business, but I don't, we don't want to take on anything else right now. All of that to say, you get down to all of the revenues, and here's the big one that is the big increase. TISA went from 268 million to 322 million.
Wow.
Now, this does not have, you guys know, we've talked about budgeting conservatively. We still have budgeted conservatively. This is our estimate from the state. This does not include the extra outcome funding. So we do get additional funding for how students perform on TCAP compared to how students get industry certifications. That is not included in this. This also doesn't include growth students or fast-growing districts or any of that. It is truly just the bare minimum based on our enrollment. So that brings us to last year's revenue was 465. This year is 518. And so that definitely, of course, helps balance a budget very easily. But I do want to remind, we were in a $28 million deficit, so that took quite a bit of it. So then let's look at expenditures. And so expenditures, you will see, these are projected based on right now. So if you look at some of the lines that are on here, this first one, for example, is going to show 265 million. We're only expecting to hit about 256 because of the open positions that we have. And some various other ways, textbooks we saved money on is another good example. So you may see 265 on the official documents. We're only projecting to spend 256. So based on what we're projecting to spend this year, this line had an increase of $15 million. So where does that come from? If you will go to the very last document that you have, so it's just a handout. This shows you vacant and growth positions, because I feel like the board always needs to know vacant and growth positions. Vacant positions is a constant movement, and so based on who got paid on the last payroll. So you will see that we had 52 vacant positions. We're requesting 46 growth positions. Same thing as you were looking in, and that is where a lot of that 15 million comes from. You also have your certified raise and step increases and classified raise in there, because those would be your educational assistants would be in that line as well. So that's where part of that 15 million, I do want to just bring up that 15 million though, is from what we're projecting to spend, not what we were projected as a budget last year. The projected budget was 265, so it's about a 6 million increase. As you continue, you'll see alternative school has 3 growth positions. Special education teachers, we're starting with 10. If we're able to fill these positions, then we very well may come back as we get into September and revenue is a little bit more known with TISA. We see that we may be getting additional funding, come back and add additional positions, but we want to do it conservatively. Special education EAs, we are not requesting to add any because we still have 25 that we haven't filled from this year's growth. And so those aren't even including how many open positions that we have currently. Those are 25 that we have from this year's growth that we never allocated because we couldn't fill them.
I've heard good news,
Yes.
whispers of good news regarding some other
Yes.
classified positions. How are we looking with EAs?
Much better.
Good.
Yep, much better. Yep.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So these regular instruction teachers, we've got 52 vacant and growth is 46.
Yep.
So technically, if you add those two numbers, we're over 100 teachers short. Do we know, I know there's hard to fill grade, specialty, but do we know what areas we're really hurting?
Yeah. So our hard to staff areas are math, science, all special education, ESL, foreign language, history, science, pretty much everything except K-5. And
Oh,
music.
and, yeah, that's, it
Music.
sounded like
Music, art, that's not identified right now.
music is being hard to fill.
No, it's not. Those are K-5, music, art. I'd say PE, but PE is pretty close to being hard to fill, as hard as that is to believe as well. The board adopted our hardest staff, I believe, in February. So it's all each, without saying a specific answer, it really depends on each individual license code.
Is there any incentive to do legislation in the sense that if, I don't know this process very well, so things are going to be very muddy, and I apologize for my ignorance. But if there's a license that there are, and a teacher may not have specialized in science, but she loved math and she did well, where they can take a license, like a test or something of some sort, where they can do that and possibly get more incentives.
Welcome to the biggest frustration that we have as educators with licensing. So if you with a degree, you could go teach science tomorrow. I have a K-8 license. I'm not certified to teach high school science. I have to go pass a test first. So that is a challenge. We have teachers that want to be in other positions, especially now that licensure has changed. We have some K-5 teachers who want to move into 6th grade, but they can't. But somebody with a bachelor's, that's something we need to talk to our state delegation.
Yeah.
Because that should
like
be
if
an
they can
easy
have,
fix.
yeah, exactly. Like if they can have an internship,
Yep.
sort of, where they can come in and they're under supervised by someone else, and if they meet some requirements to kind of bypass that a little bit.
You've basically described the Grow Your Own program.
Oh,
So
okay, great.
that is, and
Like,
that is
again,
something-
I apologize for my ignorance.
No, that is fairly new, and this was our first year to really hit the ground running with that first cohort of our current EAs, but that is exactly what we've done across human resources and instruction, is figure out where's our biggest need. We focused on SPED this time, so we have like just under 40 current EAs that after working our summer camps will be ready to be teachers in the fall. So we're filling those positions with that cohort. And then we have another 20 seats with Lipscomb for next year, which we're going to say, okay, we really need some ESL teachers. So that will be the next cohort. And then we have another group that reached out. This is why we need that coordinator position for all these different programs. And that really is a response from the state to try to help us fill that need with current people that are in the system.
Good.
And it's a great program, and I just
Yes.
found out that a guy that was the best EA that I ever worked with is in that program, and he's taking over the class that he's in, because the
Awesome.
teacher left, and he is extremely happy about this, and I'm happy for him. This is, yeah, I hope that other counties are taking note of what we're doing.
Well, they have been, we're behind. No, on this one, Lipscomb started this 3 or 4 years ago. Yep.
We're making up for it.
We are.
And
We're taking as many seats and being very aggressive with our conversations to get as many seats as we can.
Georgia has this apprentice program. I sat at the COSPA, where they're actually taking high school students that they're, no, I don't want to say grooming, but we're doing that too? You're shaking your head. Where,
Bad words.
sorry, I don't want to say that word, because it has a very negative connotation to it. But they take the students, and apprenticeship, I guess, is the better term, where they help pay for their schooling with the promise or requirement that they're coming back to the system, to our schools to teach. I don't know if that's something we're doing, but Georgia is doing that, and it seems very effective.
we are. I think we need to ramp it up. But we just met with MTSU a couple weeks ago, and then I think they had a big kickoff this week with a program that is very similar. And we are expanding, we call it TAPS, but it's Teaching as a Profession, which is a high school CTE course. But one of the things that we've had a lot of discussions around is not just expanding beyond just a CTE course and be like, what are you passionate about? Mm-hmm. Do you want to coach? Because teaching is a great way. If you're just a great athlete, let's go ahead and recruit you into, this is a great profession. Do you love math? You can teach. So really just trying to hone in on other passion areas for students and let them know that there's a free way to become teachers.
Yeah, they've been really successful about that, and they are getting state funding specifically for that program. And I think they've got about 124 that are going through that program for this year. So anyways, I was really impressed by that program from Georgia.
So with the announcement of Dr. Schwinn leaving, I know that she was not favorable for waivers. Have we heard anything with the new administration coming in?
Nothing yet, but we would love some.
Okay.
We use quite a bit, but we would love, it is frustrating when we have teachers, licensed teachers, and they just want to teach an additional grade and they can't. Yep, good point.
Whoever gets to, Lizette Rodriguez?
Yeah, Rodriguez, yes.
Rodriguez, is it Williams?
Something like that. There's two last names.
Yes,
right?
so whoever gets to her
Rodriguez
first,
is her.
let's ask her if she'll give us some waivers. So.
Just a couple other things I'll point out. So you will see, if you look at 71, 300, 116, so I'm looking at vocational, and I'm kind of going with both. So I'm looking and highlighting on here and showing you where they line up to. We're requesting 16 additional CTE teachers. This is an area that is going to grow quite a bit because CTE positions help pay for themselves. They pay for themselves in enrollment, but they also pay for themselves in industry certifications. So we've gone from 800 to 900 industry certifications. Last year we hit 1,600, and we've blown that number out of the water. And once I get the new numbers, we get extra funding for each kid that gets an industry certification based on the tier as well. You'll see 4 additional nurses to help support some of our large high schools, 13 school counselors, looking at 1 for each comprehensive high school, putting 1 at our alternative school that we are adding as well. You will see 1 for, I've got all the numbers down, starting to add an additional 1 for each one of our large middle schools. So previously you got an additional assistant principal and an additional school counselor when you got an annex. So that was the way middle schools were staffed. We have schools that are larger than schools that have an annex that don't have that staff. So trying to right size some of that. In the elementary world, putting 1 additional 1 at Stewart's Creek, Blackman, and Rock Springs because they're over 1,000. And then an additional split between Las Casas and Walter Hill because they're now over 500. So that came to 13 total. We have a staffing methodology we have to turn into the state to show that we're being equitable. 1 speech pathologist, a behavior specialist, 2 athletic trainers, a 504 EA. Actually, the school council for alternative schools in a different line, so it's there. Half of an occupational therapist, because we have a half right now, so making that full. A deputy director underneath director of schools we've talked about. And actually, we didn't need to budget a new position because of current salary that was there from previous. 11 assistant principals, so this includes every comprehensive high school, Roy Waldron School, and then starting again to get to those big middle schools that don't have an annex, an additional assistant principal. An additional attendance person to help with TISA, additional accounting person to help with TISA, HR director under Dr. Anthony. We've talked about that recruiting person that's on the board today. 30 custodians. We didn't ask for any growth, but we're looking at 30 vacant. We really have about 50, but this is 30. We have gained quite a few applicants. I've had several principals reach out and say that I have more applicants than I have positions for custodians, which is not the case. So thank you for your support on the salary study with that. It just so happens that our sister school district is outsourcing their custodians at the same time we just did a raise. So definitely at least something's going in our benefit there. Maintenance personnel, 5, and then admin assistants for transportation, because that is an area that customer service we have to improve on. And so those are the growth positions that we're looking at. Any questions on growth? And I'll go a little bit further into details of the budget, because staffing is the biggest one. And then I'll share this summary sheet. It's a little bit easier to see than the format that the county provides, that just shows you the projected, the amount we have this year, and then the percent change, and I'll share that with everybody. I just feel like that's a little bit easier to see.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, John, will you reconnect to the other one? If I disconnect first, there we go. All right, so if we'll go back to the big document now, and I just wanted to go over format so that everybody can kind of see, because it is different than what we are used to looking at. The column that is new that you're not used to seeing, because usually we look at revenues and expenditures, you're looking at a couple years here. So you're looking at the first column is the prior year. You're looking at our current budget. You're looking at if we've added money there. Then you're looking at where have we actually taken money in now. And then the very second to last column is what actually has been input by the county finance team. So you'll see it says mayor/board recommendation. So the county actually has this. We have to officially approve it, but they've entered our numbers as, again, where they have to go in and add that extra $213,000 for us. This is revenue, and it all matches. If you'll keep scrolling to page 5, I believe. It's the same numbers we just kind of looked at. And on page 5, you will see the same number of 518,420. So it's kind of where we are looking at, just a little bit of a different format. And this is the county's official format. Then we get into the next, gets into.
I have a question. This
Yep.
is not a, this is an interesting question I'm going to ask. So mayor and board recommended is because that's what we're going to be recommending, but it's not really the mayor that is recommending.
Yes and no. So technically the mayor isn't over our budget, but the mayor's over all the other departments in their budget. We are the only ones that have a standalone system. So when it says mayor/board, it's really board recommended.
Right.
For their formatting, the mayor recommends like the highway department, all
Right.
those different ones.
Yeah, but it's just confusing thinking that the mayor is recommending.
No, it's us.
So anyway,
Definitely us.
I just thought it was interesting. It was an interesting question.
Yep. So the next couple ones, if you will look, just kind of starting, and these are 19 pages, and we're not going to go over all these in detail. It just shows you same numbers again we just looked at. You'll notice a little bit of a difference here, like I just talked about. We, in our current budget, have 172 million for teachers. We were looking at 156 or 256 for this whole entire line. You'll see that the total mayor board recommended for teacher salaries are 186,000 or 186 million. And that all lines up, keep on scrolling down, to that 271 million that matched what we had on the other sheet just a couple seconds ago. So that's where all the expenditures come from. It's the exact same number, and I'll share that. So it's 271, 351, 950, and they don't do 20 cents. They stop at the dollar mark, right? Told us that today. They round.
Yeah, they just do whole numbers.
They do whole numbers. So we have it down to the pennies. They stop at the whole number. So if you have any questions on these individual lines, what it makes up, please feel free to reach out. They go over the same account codes. We had a budget retreat to where we went over all these principal requests, department requests, all those different types of things. A couple areas I want to celebrate is if you will go to page 14. So it's at the top right-hand corner, page 14 of 19. So we've talked about salary, we've talked about staffing. One of the other big areas in behavior, we also in those growth positions had behavior intervention teachers for each elementary school included. The third area that we wanted to target that was a priority was our building maintenance and making sure that we could support some of our older buildings. Some of that goes through our Fund 177, which is a different fund, but some of these are just maintenance items that we need to take care of. So in these two accounts, just to give you a number in 72,610, so we are going from 32 million to 36 million. So putting extra expenditures there to cover some of those. And then the next line, 72,620, which is maintenance of plant, we're going from 10.1 to 12.2. And so those lines, and that's just kind of looking at operation and maintenance. You can go back and forth between what is operational versus what is maintenance at our school levels. So we're able to adjust quite a bit of extra funding to take care of some of our schools.
On 72,610 operation, it's got a line item there for electricity.
Yes.
10,487,000. Looks like it's going to be 12 million.
Yep.
What would be the change if we went? Would you find 3 million in savings there if we moved with the LED? I'm just curious about that line.
That would be the round number for conversation's sake, yes.
We just had an interest rate hike.
Mm-hmm.
And the electricity bill went up too.
Yes.
When is, that contract is going through legal and then to you, Brian, right?
We asked the last board meeting to let us get through budget before we brought it back.
Go through, yes, but it'll give time to go through legal and Ryan, okay.
So we're overall very excited about these kind of two areas. The last part I wanted to highlight, which is good, is if you'll go to page, make sure I've got the right line, page 17. So this makes us a little bit independent. So in the past, if you look at 76,100, so page 17 at the bottom, 76,100, this line in the past has only had 75,000 in it. We have been very dependent on if we have like a chiller go down, for example, somewhere. We have to do an emergency request and then wait to go through all the different county commission areas. We put funding into this to be able to address some of our large-scale maintenance items that we can take care of instead of having to go ask the county for funding. So that's 141. Questions, comments? I know it's not, again, the most exciting thing, but we've looked at this quite a bit.
This is good, Doug.
Very good.
Very good. Thank you so much for being diligent.
Yep. So that was the first one. Second will be very brief, centralized cafeteria, 143. You'll see revenue is estimated at 29.7 million. And then if you flip over and go to the next page, those are our expenditures, and where you'll notice a big jump, actually go to the page 2 of 3, is equipment. I know that Eric Smith, our school nutrition director, has asked for extra equipment line because of how big his fund balance was, as we talked about. You'll see this year, he was only given 50,000. We've added him an additional 800,000 to give him 850, but we are recommending 3 million to allow him to start taking care of some of the old equipment that he has and also make his fund balance into the legal limits. So that's where that $4.6 million deficit comes from.
Where's the debt, school meal debt? I don't see it.
It's not on here because it has to be paid out of 141. It doesn't get paid for out of this. It's over 600 and, did you see the last report?
Yeah, we're past what we budgeted.
I think it was pretty close to 630,000.
And it's going to be out of fund.
Comes out of Fund 141, has to come out of our general purpose fund.
Okay. So how much did we,
We budget 500,000, we're over that, so it's less that won't come back into our fund balance than they expected. That's where it comes from. Our next step, and I don't think this goes over well in a TISA year, our next step really is a school system. Knox County tried it. Brian, you all right if I mention it? I guess I better mention it. Knox County tried it. They backed off of it. Outside, we've done all the calls we have. We send calls every Friday to notify parents of what they owe. The other option that you have realistically, legally, is looking at collection. I'm not sure how well that would go over when you just got a ton of extra funding from the State Department. But that's the only other real option that's on the table for us. I wouldn't want to talk on that one either. I'm sorry I brought it up. But we've discussed it.
Well, we are going to do some things in the oncoming year that may
Correct.
help that.
Yeah, with Skyward and registration and all that kind of stuff, yes.
Would we still be open to, if some, like I heard they do this in Nashville?
Absolutely.
Come in and just, we want to put this towards meal debt.
Be great.
What did they do in Nashville?
Churches will step up.
Oh, churches.
Can you adopt a child program?
Absolutely.
Adopt a lunch child program.
Adopt a lunch, yes. And then the last one is Fund 177. This just goes, again, having that, we moved extra pennies into this. Trey will, once we get the actual funding approved, then we'll bring the 177 list to you for approval of all the projects for the upcoming school year. So, that's all I've got on the budget.
Number 15.
All right, number 15, Facilities and Construction, tab 6. So request for Siegel Stadium turf. Principal Larry Creasy has requested to move forward with a new synthetic turf field for Siegel High Stadium. Engineering Construction has reviewed the request and recommends approval. Funding will be from private donations and at no cost to the board.
Did you show me the picture?
It's
of it?
beautiful.
Their field is beautiful.
Be happy to show anybody that wants to see the projection. Oh, is it?
It's beautiful.
Just because we need to go ahead and go to the tab. Dawn's worried it's not going to work. There you go. I mean, it's very nice looking, very professionally done. So, all right.
So, Roman number 2.
Number 2, Siegel High Redstone Bank request. Principal Larry Creasy has requested to enter in a partnership with Redstone Bank for an on-campus bank. This project's very similar to the one already in place at Blackman High. Program will be in conjunction with CTE Department. Engineering Construction has reviewed the request and recommends approval. Project will be coordinated through Engineering Construction for any changes necessary. The cost of all changes will be funded by Redstone Bank and at no cost to the board.
This is a good thing, and I know COVID kind of stopped this from happening because we had several schools
I think they
that
were
were,
interested in
yeah,
expanding this to more schools.
yeah.
But yeah, Tammy and I went and talked with them.
Yeah, this is a great thing. Yeah, this is a great thing. Roman numeral 3.
So new Kittrell Elementary sign, Principal Aaron Culver is requesting to install a new marquee sign on the Kittrell campus. The cost of the sign purchase will be by Wilson Bank and installation funded through the school requested maintenance funds. The cost for the installation is $4,602.75. The request is a similar request from other schools in the Wilson Bank. Engineering Construction has reviewed the request and recommends approval, and that sign looks like it's from when that building originally opened, if you've driven by it, so definitely a need.
Roman number 4.
So an exciting one, Laverne High hallways upgrade. Engineering Construction has reviewed the hallways at Laverne High and requests to provide funding from the 22-23 school budget fund balance to make repairs and replacements to the hallways. This request includes replacement of all hallway ceilings with like materials, painting of the hallway walls with 2 colors, painting the hallway side of all door frames, and replacing the VCT flooring with LVT. Projected cost utilizing previously bid projects and contracts on bid is $980,000. If you know, I'd like to kind of tell you where this came from, if y'all are okay with that. So really looking at it, Laverne High School is definitely one of our schools that needs a facelift, the best way to say that. It has some renovation needs. And right now they have some staffing areas that are not funded fully because they have open positions. So in looking at what's the fair thing to do, the fair thing in looking at it was they are saving funds to the district because they have open teaching positions, so let's reinvest that back into the school like it originally should have been.
Well, thank
Our
you
thought
for doing
process.
that.
Appreciate Trey working to get all that done, because I called him, I was like, Trey, can we get this done?
Yes. They definitely need a facelift, for sure, so thank you.
How quickly would they start?
The minute y'all get this approved Thursday, I'm writing contracts Friday, so it'll take me 2 to 3 weeks to get materials. So my hope is that the day school's out, we're able to start. That's my goal.
That'd be great.
That'd be great.
No, ma'am.
Supply chains are still a problem.
In fact, the project we got going on here, we had to change manufacturers because when we originally selected our floor, there was enough product in the United States. By the time we got approval to go forward with it, somebody bought half the supply that was there. They could not tell us how soon they could get it on a boat to get it over here, so we selected another manufacturer that was comparable to it, that I had to make a decision that day because they just had enough product in the United States to do this building. So they're sitting on some product until Friday so that the flooring material, we can order it.
Wow.
Oh, it is crazy. B, number 5.
All right, lease of unused Plainview property for crops. So Rick Marshall has previously leased a portion of the unused Plainview property for crops from the prior owner. He's requested to lease approximately 50 acres for the 23 growing season at a proposed rate of $85 per acre. Engineering Construction does not believe the lease will interfere with school operations. Property to be leased is generally shown in the attachment and would exclude any roads. The lease would run until December 1st, 2023. We've run the full gamut of things we're operating and doing in this agenda today. Just want to point that out.
Number 6.
Mr. Reed, do you want to come talk about this? So I'll read why he's coming up. Development agreement with City of Murfreesboro for sewer to the Blackman property. City of Murfreesboro has amended its city ordinance to allow sewer to be extended outside the city limits to serve schools to be built on the Beatty property. Will serve lady from the city is also subject to a developmental agreement being entered between the Board of Education and the city for installation of sewer. Development agreement has now been negotiated allowing for sewer service. The City of Murfreesboro City Council is scheduled to vote on the development agreement on Wednesday, May 10th. Development agreement needs to be also approved by the Board of Education and the County Commission. This is the final step needed to confirm sewer service for the Beatty property to serve the schools.
So as the board will remember, we talked to the city about extending sewer outside the city limits to provide sewer to the Beatty property. The city has agreed to do that. It required an amendment to the city ordinance to allow them to do that. That required 2 public readings. That process occurred, and it has been approved through those 2 public readings. There's still a development agreement that has to be signed between the school board and the city to extend sewer outside the city limits. That's a normal thing that they would enter with a private developer. So this development agreement is akin to what a private developer would enter if they were extending sewer service to one of their projects within the city. The only difference is this is a project outside the city. So the development agreement provides for the city, for the county school board to do the same thing that a private developer would do as far as installing the sewer line at our expense. The city will have the right to inspect it and make sure the system goes in meeting their specs, and has to be a level that will serve the proposed capacity of the school. So that's something we'll be doing as well. And in the end, the sewer system will be ours. It will be private tap. No one else can tap onto the sewer line. It will be a sewer line serving the school system alone for the schools that we build on the school property. So that's what the development agreement provides for. So from a timing standpoint, our inspection period with the Beatty's the inspection period expires May 15th, which is next Monday. So we have kind of put this on, there's 3 levels of approval required on the development agreement. So it's required a little bit of jumping through hoops to get this set on everyone's agenda. So it's coming before you Thursday night to get approved. It goes to City Council tomorrow, their meeting tomorrow to get approved, and it goes to County Commission on Thursday night as well to get approved. So we have to have all 3 of those layers of approval to sign off on the development agreement. Once that's done, that's the last step we need to proceed on with the Beatty property. So once this is done, we know we have sewer at the property. At that point, the County Commission will be considering funding approval for the property again Thursday night. So that'll happen Thursday night. So assuming everything goes well with the votes on Thursday and with the city tomorrow before them, then Friday we should be in a position to go ahead and get notice that we will intend to close on the Beatty property. You've already approved to close on the Beatty property. It's just a matter, it was contingent upon funding approval by the County Commission and for sewer. to be on the site. So if everything goes as planned, as hoped, then maybe as of Friday, we can give notice that we intend to close.
Thank you so much for the work and to get this, and thank you, Mayor McFarland and the city councilman to get this deal through, so great.
We may sign a contract next week. Awesome. Any comments or questions? Number 16.
All right, instruction tab 7, contracted service with Simple Grants. Simple Grants is a full-service grant consulting firm. They work closely with their clients and their goals to provide a navigator and go-to expert for all things grant-related. Simple Grants will serve with grant identification, grant writing, and grant management. Rutherford County Schools would like to contract with Simple Grants for no more than $75,000. This work would begin with a comprehensive grant strategy led by the district, and we'll also want board member input on that of what grants would you like for us to see and for them to target. So, again, long-term, probably our own grant writer, but we need to know where to start first.
As far as input from the board, are you going to bring like a list for us to look over, or?
It could be a little bit of any. This is our first time doing it, so whatever we want to do with it. I can probably just send out a Microsoft form, here are things that we consider with everyone, and then go from everybody.
Yeah, I've already got yours on the list. They asked for our top 5 priorities, so that is kind of what we were thinking, is just we can start collecting some that we think might be good fits, and then give it to you, and let's see where we want to give them as a direction. So, totally open.
There are a lot of areas in our school system that we haven't really been able to focus on because of lack of, we're trying to take this dollar and spread it so far. And this is a great opportunity to jump in and do some things.
Finding funding for the school meal debt.
Amen.
That's our priority, great.
How about some fine arts related, and some
Just said
equipment?
fireworks.
No,
so I'm glad.
no, we don't want anything.
That was
we're
not
gonna
on the
burn up
list,
in
but
this
fine
Fine arts. I apologize for the southern mumble.
Yes.
I was wondering why her face looked like that. I was like, do you not like fine arts all of a sudden, Dr. Chastain?
Sorry for the southern mumble.
I think this is the group that we met at CUSPA, that I submitted, right? Yes, so this is a group that I met at CUSPA, and so I forwarded that information, so that's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like
COSPA, not CUSPA. Keep calling it CUSPA, but it's COSPA.
free money out there, so.
Number 2.
All right, number 2, contracted service with Care Solace. Care Solace is our multilingual care coordination service provided to Rutherford County families during the 22-23 school year. We've received extremely positive feedback from community and RCS staff as we've tried to quickly connect students, staff, and their families with verified mental health providers. Rutherford County Schools would like to continue to provide these services during the 23-24 school year, utilizing ESSER 3.0 funds in the amount of $197,832. This kind of helped take us out of the mental health aspect and try to put that back to our mental health providers. We've had a couple conversations and we reached out to them. Dr. Chastain, have they responded yet? Probably not.
And our staff has reached out to them to get something set up. So I feel like we'll have an answer by tomorrow for sure.
I've asked if they could be available Thursday to be able to present and talk.
Yeah, I had gotten some questions about Care Solace, and some of the questions have been around the service. I don't really know any stats or anything, but one of the concerns was calling for an appointment, and they're booked out for so long, and then they're getting booked out like 3 months later. And so really looking into the level of service that they're providing and how long it takes for someone to come in. If we're spending money for that, then we should have service that's a little more speedier. But really the biggest concern has been the service side.
I'm glad you brought that up. So they don't actually provide any mental health services.
Right.
So it's all mental health providers they partner with. We're in a definite deficit for mental health providers in Middle
Right.
Tennessee. One of those areas, and this was previous board talked about, was that because we don't allow those partnerships into our school systems, that really doesn't help a business make a profit to be here because they need access. And so I have no doubt it's at least 3 to 6 months for someone to get service. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, but that's just the concerns that we
point.
have if we're
Yep.
spending money. So I'm just trying to bring out what I'm getting. That's all.
Something that I thought about in regards to that was, would it be beneficial, instead of spending $200,000 to maybe create a position in-house, give a local person a job, and have a single person dedicated to that? It would be interesting to get more information from them on like how time-consuming this is and whether it's something a single person could handle.
Be happy to find out. Can I connect again real quick? Hope financial report. Do we want to go over anything else? Hope we're good.
I think,
What did I skip? I skipped. I'm doing it Thursday.
we're doing it Thursday.
Doing it Thursday. Something that we don't talk a whole lot about, but I did want to just kind of bring to everybody's attention real quick. So, sorry, do we have insurance update, Dr. Anthony? Okay, I just skipped. You all right if I do director's?
Oh, sure.
I just started going. So this is something we don't talk a whole lot about, but it's good for us to keep the end in mind of what are we doing as a district and why does it matter? So Director of Schools serves on the Executive Council for the Rutherford County Chamber Rutherford Works program, and this just shows you our connection to industry. So we have Chamber of Commerce, education is a huge piece over here from K-12 with myself and Dr. Duke, and then all of our post-secondary groups, and then we have Industry Council that our Career and Technical Education and CTE are huge partners with, and you'll see they have manufacturing and supply chain, healthcare, construction, technology, and then we have community support. Commissioner McMurray just got added to that group as well. And so we met today to just kind of look at what does Rutherford County look like, where are we moving, and there's just a couple things I wanted to show you real quick. So all of these things in green are areas that the school system is actually involved with. So when you're talking about employers of Rutherford County, whether it's our executive council, our Rutherford Works ambassadors, our innovative high school coaches, U-Science for eighth grade career fair, it's amazing to see how much of an impact our school system truly does make on employers of Rutherford County. A couple of those that were interesting that I just wanted to kind of point out, and I just kind of went through highlights and dates for next year, was looking at some of the data from driving. So starting wages in December of 2021 were $15.16. Current market's moving more towards $18.19. So retention of workforce is a challenge, but it seems to have slowed. You also see the starting wage for entry level is starting to level off, and so we're seeing a little bit less attrition from people moving from company to company just to get the extra 50 cents per hour, which is important, but we're not having those huge wage labor wars that we were having. So that was interesting was why are we struggling for positions? So you will see that we're sitting at a 2.7% unemployment rate. That is great for our community. It is not great when you have growth and you need to fill positions because a certain part of your population is just not going to be employable, part because of just other issues, part because they're retired and they choose not to work. And so we're at a very low unemployment rate. A couple other things that I wanted to hit on was just the different dynamic of Rutherford County in general. So this is the U.S. age population, and they're talking about how you hear this growing national trend of worried about what happens to the workforce when our generation that is between 40 and 64 retire, and that you're not going to have enough people behind because of the age distribution to catch that. We're the opposite in Rutherford County. Because we are a growing area that people are moving to, and this definitely shows you why we are struggling with education so much and to keep up with growth. The number of people that we have that in most parts of the country you're worried about losing your workforce, we're having to provide for students so that they can join the workforce. So we're not going to see that huge cliff that you hear other areas talk about. So not something we talk about the whole big picture of why do we do what we do, but I thought it was interesting just to kind of share what we're looking at from a county perspective. Only other quick two things. Thank you, Ms. Sharp, Ms. Darby, Ms. Maxwell. You guys' Jazz Fest was absolutely amazing just for a little bit of time. I can't tell you how much work. I have no idea how much work you guys put in. Dr. Halford, I know it was a ton, but it was much, I don't want to say better. I enjoyed it more than the years it's been held in other locations. Is that a politically correct way of putting it? So.
I think it is a better location regardless, and we couldn't have done it without Scott Graby donating the facilities. because there really is, it's just like a graduation, there's not another venue that we could have gotten. He gave us a gift in kind, probably $20,000. And as things came up, I texted him. We were on a text basis, and I said, we need this or we need that. He goes, it's done. So it was incredible. Our sponsors that came up that gave money, everybody came together to pull this off for our students. It was
It's a true labor of love.
It was.
And everybody brought something unique to and it went off practically without a hitch. And the weather couldn't have been any better, and so I'm very excited for next year.
Yes. We're
We're here to play, not just
yes.
in life.
Yeah.
But I think it's so interesting that those of us who've been around here forever, have you ever known it not to rain at Jazz Fest, except when y'all did it? There's something to be said for
I
that.
asked Dr. Sullivan because when we met at Copper Ridge, they were blowing my phone up saying, you need to cancel and you need to postpone. And I was like, we're not going to do either because this is our students' Super Bowl. We have graduations, we have Mother's Day, and then we have Memorial Day later this month. So we can't postpone it.
We would have looked silly now.
Yeah, they were
Oh,
just,
I would have, yeah. It was. The students had a phenomenal time.
And then Special Olympics was at MTSU, so thank you for MTSU hosting that the last 2 days. So I made it today, I didn't make it yesterday, I made it 6/12 today.
Oh, good.
And then starting Friday is our gauntlet of graduation, so the culmination for all of our high school seniors, so congratulations to all of them.
Yeah, the Special Olympics was really nice. It was my first year attending, so I really, really enjoyed it. It was great
It was
weather,
good.
but
And breaking it off into 2 days was the right way.
Yeah.
Williamson County did that a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It just, it's too big an event to try to do it in one day with every age group.
Ms. Rosales, do you have anything you want to talk about?
I will bring it Thursday. I don't know did I present it, the meeting I had with Representative Stevens? I know I said in the text I couldn't remember if I said that information or not. But it's good news for Rutherford County because we're getting funding from the legislation that just passed through this General Assembly. So I'll do a recap of that on Thursday.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
General discussion. I have a question about the ESSER funds. So the ESSER funds for ESSER 3.0, I know that some of those were going to start expiring.
Yep.
I don't know if it's the first one, 2.0 or 3.0, but I'm just getting updated
Yeah,
with that.
first expired last June 30th, second expires this June 30th, third expires June 30th of next year. So we're still, right now, we have quite a bit, I hate to say held up, but held up's the right word. We have quite a bit allocated for tutoring because we don't know what third grade tutoring looks like right now. But there could be funding that we have additionally. One of the big conversations nationally they're talking about are districts needing to have extra leniency to be able to spend that an additional year. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but it's a possibility.
How much do we have in 2.0?
I sure hope it is expended very quickly because if not, we're in trouble.
It's a deadline.
I'll find out for you by Thursday.
Okay.
Will it be possible to get an update from the third grade retention law and how that is impacting us, Dr. Chastain? That would be great. If you want to do it Thursday, that's fine too. But it would be great to know what's going on with that.
And I'll tell you, we are in the hurry up and wait category right now until May 19th. Till we get scores, there's not a whole lot. But
Okay.
Dr. Chastain,
Well, we would like
happy
an
to.
update for that, so.
Yes.
Well, we have a
Wait, I think she was going to say something.
Ask for adjourn. Adjourn. We need to adjourn first.
Thursday's fine.
Thursday, okay,
We
great.
need to adjourn first. Claire.
I'd like to move to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Everybody hang around.